Hi everyone. So it's time. Today we're going to talk about Avatamsaka chapter 30 and 31st, Asamkhyeya and lifespan, two chapters. So first, we take three bows in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva. Homage to our fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to our founding teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to our founding teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound. I have obtained it today. Rarely encounter billions of eons. I wish to truly understand the Buddha's meaning. So before starting, I would like to ask people 3-4 questions. The answers are it's a quick question, yes or no. It's not a yes or no question. You need to choose. The first question is Asamkhyeya. Everybody knows this word, probably heard of this word Asamkhyeya. It means incalculable. The question is it really too large to calculate? It is a yes or no question. Is it, if you think it is incalculable, then put yes. If you think it is incalculable, then you put no, not possible to calculate, this no. Can you, I give you 20 seconds. So I've seen there's yes or no in the answers. So I won't tell you the correct answer yet. By the end of the class, I'll ask you the question again. So I hope you will understand the answer for this question. And then the next question is related to Asamkhyeya. So there's a saying of three great Asamkhyeya Yong. What does that mean? What does three large Asamkhyeya kalpas mean? Does it mean three large Asamkhyeya kalpas or three Asamkhyeya's large kalpa? Or is it none of above? So the question is really this, the great or large. The large is modifying Asamkhyeya, or the large is modifying kalpa. If you think the large is modify Asamkhyeya, then you choose one, answer one. Then you choose two if you think the large is modifying kalpa. So if you think it's neither modifying Asamkhyeya nor kalpas, then you can choose three, none of above. I'll give you a few seconds to answer this. Okay, now I see there's 1, 2, 3 in the chat box answers. Okay, now we'll look at the third question. Is the phrase ineffable a number? Ineffable, there is a Sanskrit word for it, anabilapya. It means ineffable. If you think it's a number, you say yes. If you think it's just a modification, it's just adjective, then you can say no. Is it yes or no? I've seen plenty yes or no. This is a yes no question. Okay, the last one. It's a little bit more challenging. Two word, limitless, Sanskrit, aparimana, or boundless, aparyanta. Which one is greater? If you think limitless is greater, you choose one. If you think boundless is greater, choose two. If you think they're equally large, choose three. So the Sanskrit for limitless is aparimana. The Sanskrit for boundless is aparyanta. Are they the same scale, same size? Or which one's bigger? Okay, now we get into the lecture of today. And you can hold this for questions. And by the end of the lecture, we'll look at this for question again and see what is the correct answers. Okay, now this is in the 45th row, chapter 30, Asamkhyeya chapter of the Avatamsaka. We'll recite the sutra together. At that time, Mind King Bodhisattva addressed the Buddha, saying, Honor one, all Buddhas thus come one speak of Asamkhyeya, infinite amounts, boundless, incomparable, uncountable, inestimable amount, inconceivable, immeasurable, ineffable amount, and ineffable amount. World Honor One, what are Asamkhyeya up to, including ineffable amount? The Buddha replied, Mind King Bodhisattva, good indeed, good man. That you now form a wish to enable all in the world to enter into the meaning of innumerable measure to know Buddhas. And I will, good man, listen carefully. I will tell you. So you can count, there are 10 phrases here from Asamkhyeya to ineffable. There are 10 adjectives or 10 words. What are these 10 things? Are they numbers? Are they adjective describing what are they amount to? And then Buddha said, oh, good question. So you're trying to enable all living beings of the world to enter into the meaning of the numerical measure known to the Buddhas. So you can see clearly these are numbers. All of these are numbers. All of these phrases are numbers. Asamkhyeya, immeasurable, boundless, these are numbers. So now the Buddha is teaching the numerical measures known to the Buddhas to living beings of the world. Okay, now the Buddha start to explain these numbers. And he explained more than 10 numbers. He explained more than 100. He said, good man, 100 laksha makes one loki. Loki times Loki, so Loki square makes Ayuta. Ayuta square makes Nayuta. Nayuta square makes Vimara. Vimvara squared makes Kamkara. Kamkara squared makes one Agara. Agara squared makes one Pavara. Pavara squared makes Mapara. Mapara squared makes Avara. So I've etc etc. There's like more than 100. We don't have to go through all of them because it would just be confusing for everyone. So the Buddha started with Laksha. In Laksha, in the 80 rows of Avatamsaka, they didn't really explain how big is Laksha, but in the 40 row, Avatamsaka is 10, a thousand, 10,000, 100,000. So 100 Laksha is Koti. So Koti is Koti squared. It's just like when we say 7 squared is 49 days. Often Chinese people will say 100,000. So that would be like 100 times 1,000. Or if you're good in math, you will say Koti squared is Ayuta. Ayuta squared is Nayuta. So I'm sure you've heard of Nayuta. And Nayuta squared is Kimkara, Kamkara. So all of this doubled. They're actually just these two numbers times each other, so they're squared. So then it goes on and on in the same method. So you have Vigama, Upavata. So there's like Sima. These all numbers, translation of numbers. And Amama, this is all numbers. Even Padma. Padma is red lotus. This is also a number, can use as a number. And then there's Samka. Samka is also a number. So Samka, Samka. So Asamkhyeya times Asamkhyeya. So Asamkhyeya squared is Asamkhyeya turning. And Asamkhyeya times Asamkhyeya is limitless. Limitless squared is limitless turning gets to boundless. Boundless squared is boundless turning is in unparable. So the highlights, there are 5 of them that's included in the question of 10 numbers. Then you have cannot be ineffable, you have cannot be thought, cannot be measured. So you have here ineffable is ineffable turning, and then ineffable turning squared is called ineffable. And then you got to all the way to ineffable turning, that is the largest number in the 80 row Avatamsaka. There is altogether listed 124 numbers, and Asamkhyeya is the number 20th biggest number. It's not the biggest. We can actually count the actual numbers because we talked about from the smallest is Laksha is 10 to the power 5. And then you have times 100, that is koti. So koti will be 10 to the power 7. And often in sutras, it use billion to represent 0.1 billion to represent koti. But in sutras, it actually means 10 to the power 7. So 1 digit less than 0.1 billion. When you see this character E, it doesn't mean 0.1 billion. It means 10 to the power 7. So ayuta is koti squared. So it becomes 10 to the power 14, and you see they're squared. So you see they're 10 to the power 20, 28, 56. The number just keep doubling. So I have listed laksha is 10 to the power 5, and koti is 10 to the power 7. So it's exponential growth. So when you see 10 to the power 5, that means there's like there's 5 after 1, 5 digits after 1. There's 10 to the power 7 means 7 zeros after 1. So next, it just keep doubling. And there's so many numbers, so I've skipped quite a few. So the power is 10 to the power 28. That means there's like there's 28 zero after 1. That's that many digits. Then you see there's like Utpala, is a green lotus, and Padma 10 to the power 30, and then you see limitless is 10 to the power 32, boundless 10 to the power 33, and then once you get to incountable all the way to the end is 10 to the power 34. So Asamkhyeya is 7.1 times 10 to the power 31. So that's how you expand that number at the very bottom. So you have 71, and then you have 30 zeros after that. That's how big the number is. You can see the way we put the numbers together is 3 in groups. So you can see there's 10 groups of 3 zeros and then 71 in front. So it's a astrological, bigger than astrological number. So you can see Asamkhyeya is a number. And you can also see which one is bigger. And then we keep going. There's more numbers. And then you can see ineffable in there. Ineffable anabilapya. So that is ineffable. It's also a number. And then the ineffable turning is 10 to the power of 37. And this is in the 80 scroll of Avatamsaka Sutra. It listed 124 numbers, and Asamkhyeya is the number 20 biggest ones. And then that's how you expand the number. In the 40th scroll, Avatamsaka Sutra, there's actually 144 numbers. So 40-row Avatamsaka, we've often read Samathabhadra vow chapter that is translated by Dharma Master Prajna as is in the 40 rows. And it has 20 more numbers in the chapter than the 80 row. But Asamkhyeya is still the 20th biggest number. But it's bigger when you expand it. It's 10 to the power of 37. So it looks like exponentially 31, 37 is not too different, but actually since it's a exponential growth, the 6 is a huge difference. It's a million times difference. So you can see the in 40-row Avatamsaka, Asamkhyeya is much bigger than the 80-row Avatamsaka. So in 2008, I have submitted a paper in Vajrabodhi, how large is one Asamkhyeya. You can check it out. And inside it's listed the 40 Avatamsaka, 60 Avatamsaka, and 80-row Avatamsaka. What's the difference? So if you know the 60 row Avatamsaka is the earliest translation of Avatamsaka Sutra. Is from Jin Dynasty, came into China. And then the latest one is actually the 40 row Avatamsaka Sutra. It only has the Gandavyuha chapter, but that it listed that Gandavyuha, so entering the Dharma realm chapter, part into 40 rows. And it's shorter, but it's more detailed. So in the different in the Abhidharma Kosha, in the Gandavyuha, 60 rows after 80 row Avatamsaka, the Loksha is the same number, the Laksha is the same number. And then Koti is 10 to the power 7 for most, but different in the 60 row Avatamsaka. And then you can see Nayuta was the representation in different texts. And then Asamkhyeya is very similar for the 60 row and 80 row. It's all in the same exponential range. Ineffable is even bigger, and ineffable is much bigger. So I'll just show you how big are these numbers exactly. Now I show you normally when we call astronomical number, how big are we talking about? So a giant galaxy has about 10 to the power 14 stars. So that's 100 trillion stars. And what we have seen is exponentially many folds bigger. And then the observable universe, how many galaxies are there in the observable universe, is a 1.7 times 10 to the power 11 is 170 billion. And then the age of the universe is about 14 billion. So 1.4 times 10 to the power 10 years. And how long is light year? So how far does light travel in vacuum? That's in 1 year. That's 9 0.5 times 10 to the power 15 meters. And the diameter of the observable universe is about the diameter in unit of light year is 10 to the power of 10 to 10 to the power 25 meters. And the sun is the closest star for us, from us. That's a 10 to the power 11 meters in that scale. From sun to the earth is how many meters? So this is when we say astronomical number, that's a scale of what we're talking about. And you can see what Buddha has said in the sutra is way, 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 way bigger. And then we have many verses in the sutras because there's so many of them. We'll just go through a few of them. So at that time, ineffable cannot be described. The universe is filled with ineffable. Throughout ceaseless eons without numbers, the ineffable is spoken without end. Buddha lands are endless beyond counting. If everyone was ground up into dust modes, one mode could hold infinitude of lands, and every one mode could do the same. The Buddha land contain all these modes come from one thought of grinding into dust. Continue grinding thus with every thought far beyond the bound of time itself. Within each mode of dust are lands uncountable. When all of them are ground to dust, to calculate their number is challenging. One must count for eons without number. So here when we say ineffable, these are in the verses. They're ineffable, there should be all numbers. So each dust mode, they're ineffable land, Buddha land. So all of these are numbers. And each mode of dust is the same. So you can replace all the words as describing like ineffable or boundless. You can change them all into numbers and then look at these verses again. So all the ineffables, you must count. So there's many, many ineffables in the verses. Almost every line there's ineffable. So you can, if you're interested, you can read this and try to replace the ineffable with actual numbers. So why we talk about the numbers? In the row 65 or 30, so this is the 39 chapter of Ganda Vyuha, entering the Dharma realm. We'll read the sutra text. Think about the instruction of Sudarshana, applying, passing it on, investigating and talking about it, revealing, contemplate, approaching it, following it, reflecting on the principle of his teaching. So this is talking about the previous teacher. Enter into it, bring it near, analyzing, explaining it, elucidating it, pondering it. This is from the previous teacher that Sudana has encountered. And then ongoing, Sudana, surrounded by celestial being spirits, made his way into the city Sumukha in the land of Shramana Mandala, looking for a boy, Indri Yashvara. Then when Sudana got to the city Sumukha near a river junction, he saw Indravarja surrounded by 10,000 boys playing the sand. He went to Indriyashvara paid his respect and said, "Noble one, I have set my mind to supreme enlightenment, but I don't know how. And enlightened being is to learn and carry out the practice of Bodhisattva path." And Indriyeshvara said, "Well, I have been taught writing and mathematics by Manjushri, have been led into the door of knowledge encompassing higher knowledge of all practical arts. So I know all the various art, craft, science in the world dealing with writing, mathematics, symbols, etc., etc." So then he started talking about the numbers. He said, "Oh, I myself know enlightenment being method of counting, which goes like this: hundred thousand is a koti. A koti square is nayuta. Nayuta squared is niyuta. Niyuta square is bimbara. Bimbara square is kinkara." So they then all the way to Asamkhyeya. So you see the numbers all keep squaring, and here we did not completely list out the 124 numbers, but all the way it goes to ineffable turning. And then it says, I count out the grains of sand in miles wide mass of sand before me, telling how many grains of sand are there, how many unspeakable numbers of grain of sands there were. So I can count ineffable, boundless number of Nayota group of sand. I know how many exactly they are. And then this counting device serves all the bodhisattvas for the succession of worlds. This counting method count multitude world in 10 directions. And then can count the size of the world, all the Buddha's names, doctrines, all the dharmas, the names of the eons, name of the Buddhas, name of the sentient beings, name of their karma, name of their actions. So don't look down upon these numbers. Once you are enlightened, awakened, you will need these numbers to be able to describe all the things. So the next is a very small chapter, very short chapter, lifespan chapter. Then the Bodhisattva Mind King said to the not one, said to all the Bodhisattvas, disciple Buddhas, one eon in this world endurance the field of Shakyamuni Buddha. Is a day and a night in the world of ultimate bliss in the field of Amitabha Buddha. So in the beginning, we'll say the Saha world in a eon in the Saha world is just a day and night in the land of ultimate bliss. So you don't think the day of land of ultimate bliss slow, because the eon of the land of bliss is keep going. It goes to it's an eon an eon of ultimate bliss is a day in the world vestment banner. So now we look at how big is an eon. A small eon is 1.7 or 1.18 million years. A medium kalpa is 20 small kalpas. And then 4 medium kalpa is a large kalpa, which is 80 small kalpa. So you can see how many days, if we talk about if a day is 360 days, then 100 days is 36,000 days, 100 years, 36,000 days. And then 100 year in the ultimate bliss, in the land of ultimate bliss, is basically 70 billion years in the Saha world. So let's just say if their lifespan is like 100 years in the land of ultimate bliss, that is 70 billion years in China, in on Earth. But this is not even the biggest. Many world is way bigger in terms of time. So the succession goes on like this for 1,000,000 Asamkhyeya world, and the aeon of the last world is a day and a night in the world supreme lotus. So this is basically similar to the 10,000 Buddha repentance in the Buddha speak of Buddha's name sutra chapter row 7, chapter 7. It will say, oh, at that time the bhikshus asked the Buddha, world honored one, what about the lifespan of all the various Tathagatas? And then the Buddha told bhikshus, listen carefully. The Saha world, one eon is a day and night in land of ultimate bliss. And then land of ultimate bliss for eon is a day and night in the banner world. So it keep going like this. The eons in another world is a day and a night in a different world. So it's the same pattern, just with a different name of the land. So it's the same and all the way to the very end. Here you talk about the Buddha worthy supreme. Here it says all the world like this, limitless, boundless. Their lifespan is some are longer, some are shorter. The world's lifespan, some are longer, some are shorter, same as the Buddha's lifespan, some, and same as the Buddha, how long they live in the world is also like that, some longer, some shorter. So now we come back to the questions in the beginning of the class. So Asamkhyeya means incalculable. So however, is it too large to calculate? You should know the answers, right? You can try to put the answer in the chat again. Is it too large to calculate? So you've seen already, Asamkhyeya is actually a specific number. It's calculable. So then what does 3 large Asamkhyeya kalpa mean? So I will try, can you try answer this again? Is it 3 large Asamkhyeya kalpas or 3 Asamkhyeya large kalpas? Or none of above? Which one is that? So some of you answered none of above. Why did you answer that? We've talked about there is no concept of large Asamkhyeya. There is a Asamkhyeya turning, but there is no large Asamkhyeya. So, but kalpa has small kalpa, medium kalpa, and big kalpa, or large kalpa. So 3 large, it should be the large should be modifying kalpa. So is ineffable a number? Yes or no? So I hope y'all get this one right. It is it is definitely a adjective, but it's also a number. So which number is bigger, limitless or boundless? Limitless or boundless? You can choose 1, 2, or 3. So in the beginning, we talked about Asamkhyeya squared is limitless, and um, limitless turning squared is boundless. So you see the actual number of limitless and boundless. You can see boundless is bigger. So we see the number Asamkhyeya, limitless, boundless, all the way to ineffable. There's 10 big numbers from small to big, from small to large. So limitless is in front of boundless. So limitless smaller, boundless bigger. Okay, now it's time we dedicate merit.
愿以此功德，庄严佛净土，上报众恩，下济三途苦。若有悉发菩提心，报身同生极乐国。地道和尚。阿弥陀佛。